Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about GroHaus. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is a thinker. And luckily, I have Drew here who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much, Drew, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's just dive right in. When you hear that word, GroHaus, what does that make you think about?
My dad, actually. That's kind of where the namesake came from. Through my childhood, my dad dreamed of owning a greenhouse one day, and so I watched him go through the journey of turning this dream into a reality. And so when I launched this business, I wanted to kind of put a hidden kind of callback to that journey of starting from nothing and you know building something that people can visit to this day. And so I really when we were thinking about how to name the business and what to call it, we knew that growth was kind of an essential factor here because it's one of the things I specialize in. But I wanted something that brought it home. No pun intended, but it just kind of hit. It was one of those things that I'd been working on another startup that never really took off. It was just this weird idea that my wife and I were kicking around, and it had house in the name. And we had kind of shelved that for a while, and we were kicking different ideas around, and she came up with it. So she just out and said, "What about GroHaus?" And I was like, "I really like that." And so I always tell my clients that I'm really good with copywriting. I can sell anything you throw at me, but naming things is a real art. And anytime I have to name something, I always take it to my wife because she's just better at that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's great. That's lovely. And I love how you brought it back to home. You know what I mean? You brought it back to your heart, and what it really started for was your father, and how he inspired you in something that others may dismiss or others may not even see as relevant or see as small, but you were like, no, this holds value to me. So it's just, so this is really beautiful. So it's like, what exactly does Grow House does? Like for me, I did a little bit of research and things like that on your company, but for the ones that are just tuning in and just want to just know and curious, what exactly do you do?
So we do hyper targeted lead gen and buyer intent, lack of a term, development. There's not really a good, we're kind of in the fringes of what is possible. And we're always kind of trying to push that line about, how can we run marketing more intelligently? And like, if you think about, back in the day when advertising was broadcast only and you didn't have any kind of targeting, you'd run a commercial on CBS because everybody watched CBS. There was only three channels, so you had a 30% market share no matter what of where
Yeah.
your ad was going to run. Today, because everything is so segmented and the attention that you're going to get from any given audience is so limited, that it's really important that if you're spending ad dollars or buying leads or doing, whatever you're doing to put people into your pipeline, that you're buying them that attention in the most efficient way possible and getting rid of the people that don't really, they're tire kickers for lack of a better term, right? They're never going to buy, they're just curious. Or the people that have no business being in your funnel in the first place. Like, someone that works a 9 to 5 and is showing up in a B2B funnel for a service they'll never buy. It's like, well, maybe they're just signing up for the free Yeti. I've certainly done that in the past. I mean, granted, when I do it, I usually intend to buy the service, but you know, we all see the ads on Facebook, and we know that not every person getting the Yeti is actually a customer.
Oh, absolutely. And anybody who's doing a raffle isn't necessarily there for the actual company. They're there just, oh, what can I get out of this? You know what I mean? Very selfish or motivated in different areas. So the fact that you target and you provide these leads and you develop this type of marketing that's very specific for anyone's genre, I mean, that really is helpful because people they don't fully understand marketing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of do's and don'ts, but it's like, what is a misconception of marketing that you are aware of?
Well, I mean, the biggest one is that marketing is witchcraft. And marketing is really an art and a science. It's psychology and creativity kind of melded together. And the reason why I think a lot of people think it's this kind of hocus pocus snake oil kind of thing is because there's just so many different types of marketing out there. And no marketer will admit that their strategy is not the ideal strategy for your business because they're hopeful it is, and they've seen it be successful enough that even if you're slightly outside of their wheelhouse, they're like, well, it's worked for A, B, and C. It should work for D. And so they're not going to shortcut their confidence in the sales call and be like, well, I don't know if this is going to work, but if you pay me, we can find out together. And so I think because a lot of marketers have that approach and they will sell something purely because they know that they have a good likelihood of success and that the failure isn't really going to hurt them. That you have a lot of people that have bad experiences with marketing and then, start to have this perception that marketing is all snake oil. Like, I cannot tell
Yeah.
you the number of people who've told me, like, what I do is like pretend. Like that there's nothing like it's all just luck of the draw and marketing has no impact on buyers. And I'm like, categorically that's false. Like it's that you haven't taken the time to actually understand how marketing works and you hired some people that weren't very good at marketing because you don't know how marketing works. So like the thing I tell people all the time before they hire me or any agency is like you need to be at the same level of knowledge that the agency you're hiring is, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't hire someone that is more creative, that's more systematized, that's more dedicated to that so that you can do other things. But if you don't know how Facebook ads work and you hire a Facebook ad agency, how can you tell if they're actually doing the work they're saying they're doing or
Yeah.
they're just phoning it in? Because there's plenty of people out there that do that, right? That's, go look at all the agencies out there that charge $500 to manage your Facebook ads. It's like, you really think they care about your business for $500 a month? I mean, to a small entrepreneur, that might seem like a big investment, but they probably have 200, 300 clients. Like you are a drop in that bucket. So it's,
Yeah.
you're not going to ever get the kind of attention that you deserve, but you would never know that unless you actually learn how this process works and what happens inside a marketing process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love the way that you said it because I don't think people actually even realize that because they feel like they're so scattered. There's so much that's into it that they don't even realize that science is in it, you know. They don't even fathom the thought that how could science help me make this work? But I mean, it does. You know, science kind of makes sense if you really think about it because if there has algorithms to connect people on dating sites with your perfect match, why can't that same science be utilized for marketing and helping you find the right clientele and helping you find the right people that actually may be needing your services? I mean, in my perspective, it sounds like it's kind of like in that avenue. I mean, am I a little bit off, or is there a better way to understand it?
No, I think the big misconception is that like these tools that people dreamed up, like, man, if I could only get inside my customer's head, it's like those things already exist. It's
Yeah.
just getting access to those is really, I wouldn't say bleeding edge technology, but it's outside of the general scope of what an entrepreneur is going to run into. Even a person running an established business for 20, 30 years, you're just probably not going to run into a lot of this stuff unless you run into me because there's not a lot of us that do it. And there's also not a lot of us who build a business around this idea of not doing more impressions, but doing less impressions and more meaningful impressions. Because that was the metric, right? You think about like, Super Bowls in the 90s, right? What was the metric? Well, how many eyeballs are glued to the screen while the Cowboys are, plowing over the Buffalo Bills? Like that's what everybody cared about. That's not what matters anymore. I can listen, you want 10,000 impressions, I can get them to you tomorrow. Give me enough money, I will give you as many impressions as you want. I'm not going
Mhm.
to I'm just going to kind of broadly blast it out there. I'm not going to go and hone and target it in, but oh, sure, that's easy. So in the
Yeah.
90s, getting 10,000 impressions was hard. You had to invest money, you had to buy media, you had to create a commercial. Now, anyone can do it. And so because anyone can do it, it creates this idea that like, this is easy stuff. It's just simple. It's two-dimensional. And it's like most of what people experience in marketing is only the surface. It's not the theory and the practice and everything. It's just like, oh, here's how you run a Facebook ad. So yeah, I mean it's the psychology that goes into marketing and the psychology that feeds these AI powered algorithms that determine buyer intent. Like it is 100% a science on that side of it. Now, getting people to click is the art. Like finding them, that's where the psychology comes in and the like science math formulas that. But the creative is what pulls them in to actually click the ad, the copy, the video, the feel, social proof, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I liked how you said that. It's about making it meaningful. You know what I mean? So how exactly do you make it more meaningful than some other person that's trying to just help with another marketing? What makes you different?
Well, we don't take nearly as many clients as most agencies. Like, I'm not looking to scale this in a way that makes it so that we're just McDonald's and that
Yeah.
we can sell the cheapest marketing campaigns to the most number of people. Like, I take a lot of personal ownership in the campaigns I launch, and I want to see them succeed. And when they don't succeed, it hurts me deeply. And it's not something that I can ignore. I have to go back and figure out what went wrong. Now, luckily, I've been
Yeah.
doing this so long that, the longer you practice anything, the less you fail at it. But that's, I think, from our beginning, one of the things that really separated us. And even when I would take kind of like, covert stealth calls with other marketing agencies to see how they treated people, it was just always amazing to me how many people left their humanity at the door and just turned the whole process into this very ice cold, like, yeah, let me ask you these discovery questions that everybody knows are leading into a sales pitch, and oh, you're asking about my revenue. I wonder why you're asking about my revenue. Because you wanted to
Yeah.
adjust the price, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't feel real. And so like one of the things I do in my sales process is like I open up all my calls with the same question is tell me about your business. I get all the information I need out of that one question. People will tell you just about everything if you actually approach them like you're genuinely interested in them and not trying to, fill out a form to figure out if it's worth your time to talk to them. So
Yeah.
it's just that humanity element. Like we live in an increasingly non-human age, and it goes a long
Yeah.
way.
Oh, it does. And I love that that's what you hold on to and what you strive for. It's like it's not about the numbers. It's not about how many people you can get in your clientele book. It's not about that. It's about helping people who can see the value in their own work and then allowing me to take their baby and make it something better. And I don't think people realize that because you're absolutely right. We do live in a world where the human contact or human interaction is becoming so scarce now. It's like you don't even need to talk to a human anymore. You could talk to ChatGPT or talk to Alexis or talk to whoever is on your phone or is accessible by your smart devices, and it takes away that human connection of that personalness, you know what I mean? And AI, I mean, it does wonderful things, but it's also it makes you a number just like everything else in this world for it is a number. It's just where you can fit into the algorithm. It's where you can fit, but it's like it sounds like for you it's more about what are you doing, what are you striving for, and where are your goals, where's your hopes and dreams later on, and how can we get there together. It sounds like that's where more so that you're going towards, and how do you keep yourself grounded to have this mindset when it comes to your business?
I mean, I think there's just something that comes from growing up in an entrepreneurial community and seeing the struggle and the success and the celebrations and the defeats and you know that doesn't leave. And the other thing is like, I don't trust anyone that didn't get kicked in the teeth numerous times on their way up. Because the reality is like if you've never had a failure, you never own up to a failure, you never admit that you were wrong on a call, not only does that show me that you have very little experience, but it also makes it seem like someone else was paving your way. Because like marketing's a blood sport, man. Like this is not something that oh well, that campaign didn't do well. Oh well, we'll try again. It's like that might have been thousands of dollars down the drain, right?
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. So like you have to be certain, or you have to be not uncertain, right? That what you're putting out there is going to work. And to be able to have that mindset of like, this is serious business. I need to put my best foot forward in front of this audience to get them to click the link or fill out the form or visit the website or buy the product or whatever it is. You just have to continually remind yourself that you are playing with people's fortunes in the same way a stock trader can become very uh disin disconnected from the fact that they're playing with real money. If you ever talk to like a stockbroker or a person that works on a trading floor, like they'll tell you like at first there's these nerves because you realize you're playing with real money. And then over time, it's just numbers. It doesn't really mean anything. It means something to you in terms of your goals and your promotion and keeping your job and bonuses and all that. But it loses the meaning behind it. And so that's what I'm always trying to maintain is like, why are we actually doing this? What are we really
Yeah.
trying to sell here? Like what is the outcome that we need to drive? And so looking at things that way, it prevents us from producing campaigns that just about anybody could produce and instead producing things that are really interesting. Like yesterday, I spent 3 hours on the phone with a client in a very, very populated area in terms of how she's marketing and who else is marketing against her. And for 3 hours, we kicked around how could we sell her product without selling her product? Like, how
Hmm.
could we sell this without even mentioning what we do? Like, that's a hard question. And that's
Yeah.
one that a lot of marketers are too lazy to attack. They'll just go and flip through their swipe file and grab something that's somewhat similar and throw it out there. And if the response rate on that cold email is 1%, then they'll just say, well, that's just the benchmark for what we're doing, as opposed to saying, like, I'm not satisfied with 1%. Like, we need more. Like, I don't care if it's within the benchmark range. 1% doesn't make me want to get up in the morning. Like, let's get this to 3%, 4%. So what do we have to do to do that? So I think it's like it's really that it's working with the clients so closely and really having that ownership over the process and the projects and not not getting so caught up in the growth of the business to feel like none of that matters.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that matters, you know what I mean? The person matters. The person who's operating the business matters because they established this foundation, they established their business. This is their child, you know what I mean? When you create a business, and no matter what type of entrepreneur you are, and no matter what industry that you are, like that's a part of you. You have your own passion, you have your goals and ideas. And then when you come to somebody and they're like, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll kick rocks. It's all right. Just go on with the next one. Just pay for the next one and we'll keep going. But it's like we need people to have that no, there's something more for this. There's more to this. And I love the fact that you said that it's about selling a product without actually selling a product. You know what I mean? Because when you said that, it made me think about like, so if you're not selling the product, what are you selling? You're basically putting your heart there. You know what I mean? You're putting what the other person sees. It's like, well, that's the reason why some commercials are so relatable or so they do so well is because they're able to get people into the product without actually revealing the product until the very end. You know what I mean? Because it's about that connection and the fact that, like you said earlier about losing humanity, like we need to bring that back into play because it has such an importance because at the end of the day, we are marketing towards other humans. You know what I mean? You're not trying to convince a robot to buy your product. You're trying to convince another human to see value in what you have and to give. So that brings so much more value into what you're doing because you are trying to bring back humans to humanity to remind each other that we're in this together and it's not about competition, it's not about being the best, it's about doing the best, and doing the best is so much better than being the best. And I don't think people really think about that. And it sucks that time is catching up to me, up to us, because I feel like I could keep asking you questions about this because I love your responses. They're so in detail. They're so Oh my goodness, I could literally see what you're saying. You know what I mean? I could see it, and it makes it so much more real for me. And I know my listeners who are listening, they feel it, they see it too. Like, wow, Drew got it going on. So what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
So kindness, patience, empathy, and encouragement, I think are the key values that make people successful in my field. And it's also the lack of those values is what makes people fail in this field.
Oh,
That's the number one thing. And I think that's true for a lot of businesses because at the end of the day, like it costs you nothing to be patient. It costs you nothing to be empathetic. It costs you nothing to encourage someone who's having a rough time. Smiles free. So
yeah.
like there's so many things that have really high value in the marketplace that we forget. Empathy is a fleeting commodity. There's not a lot of empathy in our world right now, right? If
Oof.
you're empathetic to your customers, they will take notice and they will buy from you and in greater numbers because who would you rather buy from? You walk into a store and the cashier's on their phone and they're not paying attention and you have to like clear your throat to get them to sit up and pay attention. And the whole time they're kind of like scowling at you for how dare you interrupt my Snapchat streak or whatever. And then, you have that experience and then compare that to going into a store where you're greeted the second you walked in. Someone walks up to you and asks you what they can help you with. They take you right to where it is in the store, help you pick it out and bring it up to the counter. And then the person checking you out is smiling and asking you about your day and commenting where appropriate on your purchase, like, oh, I want to buy that knife set too, or whatever. Like that's a really good experience. And those experiences are what keep a lot of the brick and mortar businesses around. Some are just utility. Your local gas station is a utility, right? They don't have to really care about being the nicest place in town
Yeah.
because that's just where people go to get gas. But if you're any kind of small business and you're not keeping those principles in mind, you're not going to do as well as you could. And none of those things require a marketing budget. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that really holds value, and I appreciate you saying that because if you really think about it and you really look back in your own life and you think about why did you buy from this person versus another person when they're selling the same knife set, when they're selling the same furniture, they're selling the same paper, they're selling the same water, but you went back to them because there was some empathy, there was some compassion, there was some patience, there was some understanding, there was something that made you realize that you were seen, that you were heard, that you were valued in a way that like you said, we are losing touch and it's free. There's not, it costs you absolutely nothing to be kind, nothing for a smile, nothing for just time. You know what I mean? It really doesn't cost you much of anything. It only costs you your what reputation. Oh my goodness, he's gonna be seen as a good guy. Oh no. You know what I mean? Like, no, it doesn't work like that. We have to be more sincere and we have to remember humans just we just want that connection back. We just want that seen to be seen, to be heard, to be all those values that you spoke of because we've lost value in humanity. We lost value, we lost morals, we lost this understanding and now everybody's disposable. Everyone's just a number. Everyone's non-important, but it's like no. You have value and you are important and I think that holds value in any entrepreneur that's listening and thinking about this in a whole new way. So thank you for this. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, because I really did, oh my goodness, it really sits with me as I do my own podcast, as I promote my own stuff. It makes me consider. Am I being sincere? Am I being real? Am I having that empathetic impact? And that's the things that we have to really ask ourselves. So, truly, truly, if you want to know more about Drew, go check him out. Have access to his website that has access to all of the great content that he has to offer the world so that you can continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point? Yes, it is. So, with that being said, bye.